जस्ट यू स्ट्रीम स्टार्ट कर रहे हैं. हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे हरे. ओके. सो भगवद गीता 7.26. वेदाहम समतीतानि. Want to repeat?
वेदाहं समतीतानि
वर्तमानानि चार्जुन
वर्तमानानि चर्चुषुना
भविष्यानि च भूतानि
भविष्याणि च
भविष्यानि च
भूतानि
भूतानि
मां तुं वेद न कश्चन.
मां
मां
तु
तु वेद न
वेत्तुदन
कश्चन.
कश्चन.
Synonyms: Veda, no. Aham, I. Samatitani, completely past. Vartamanani, present. Cha, and. Arjuna, O Arjuna. Bhavishyani, future. Cha, also. Bhutani, all living entities. Mam, me. Tu, but. Veda knows, not. Kaschana, anyone. O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of the Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Purport. Any volunteers?
I can do, Prabhuji. Here, the question of personality and impersonality is clearly stated. If Krishna, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, were Maya, material, and as the impersonalists consider him to be, then, like the living entity, he would change his body and forget everything about his past life. Anyone with a material body cannot remember his past life, nor can he foretell his future life, nor can he predict the outcome of his present life. Therefore, he cannot know what is happening in past and present and future. Unless one is liberated from material contamination, he cannot know past, present, and future. Unlike the ordinary human being, Lord Krishna clearly says that he completely knows what happened in the past, what is happening in the present, and what will happen in the future. In the fourth chapter, we have seen that Lord Krishna remembers instructing Vivaswan, the sun god, millions of years ago. Krishna knows everything, every living entity, because he is situated in every living being's heart as the super soul. But despite his presence in every living entity as super soul and his presence as the supreme personality of Godhead, the less intelligent, even if able to realize the impersonal Brahman, cannot realize Sri Krishna as the supreme person. Certainly, the transcendental body of Sri Krishna is not perishable. He is just like sun, and Maya is like a cloud. In material world, we can see that there is the sun and that there are clouds and different stars and planets. The clouds may cover all these in sky temporarily, but this covering is only apparent to our limited vision. The sun, moon, and stars are not actually covered. Similarly, Maya cannot cover the Supreme Lord. By his eternal potency, he is not manifest to the less intelligent class of men. As it is stated that in the third verse of this chapter, out of millions and millions of men, some try to become perfect in this human form of life, and out of thousands and thousands of such perfected men, hardly one can understand what Lord Krishna is. If one is perfected by realization of impersonal Brahman or localized Paramatma, he cannot possibly understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, without being in Krishna consciousness. Bhurijana Prabhu notes, O Arjuna, as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, I know everything that has happened in the past, all that is happening in the present, and all things that are yet to come. I also know all living entities, but me no one knows. Srila Baladeva Vidya Bhushana poses a question. If a living entity can be covered by Maya and fall into ignorance, can this also happen to Krishna? No, he answers. Maya is inferior to Krishna and is controlled by Krishna's prowess. She carries out his orders from afar and cannot affect him. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains Krishna's words Maya has no power to bewilder her own shelter. Therefore, neither the external Maya nor the internal Yog Maya can ever cover my awareness. And no one knows me completely, no materialistic or transcendental person, such as Maharudra or anyone else, even the most omniscient person. That is because either Maya or Yogamaya, as is appropriate in each individual case, is always covering everyone's awareness. Mam tu Veda na kaschana signifies that one who truly knows Krishna is very rare. In the next four verses, Krishna describes how and when the living entities become covered by Maya. He also explains how they can become free of Maya. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, question: what is Maya? Yes, it's an interactive session. It's okay to be on video too. What is Maya?
Prabhuji, modes of material nature, anything which is not real, illusion.
Okay. Any other options? That's all.
Yogamaya.
Maya. Okay. So Maya is that which is not. What is it? That which is not. So there are two Mayas, right? Yoga Maya and Mahamaya. Yoga Maya is basically the personality Subhadra, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra. In the middle, that sister is sitting very innocently. That is Yoga Maya. She runs the whole spiritual world. In the spiritual world, she makes people forget that Krishna is God. Then Yashoda Maya thinks, अरे मेरा बेबी है, मैं खिलाऊंगी नहीं तो इसको क्या हो जाए, right? There comes a moment when Yashoda Maya is seeing in Krishna's mouth the whole universe, and in the universe she is again seeing herself and Krishna again in that illusion. So, and then she starts thinking, is my baby a Supreme Personality of Godhead? And Krishna doesn't like that thought, so he switches off the show. He stops that vision. He wants his Maya to think that my baby is my baby. He's not God. He likes it that way. Why? Only then they can really enjoy mother-son relationship, no? Child relationship. So in the spiritual world, the great devotees are basically not believing Krishna to be God, and then but they have relationship of love of different types, and they're relishing the relationship with Krishna. In the material world, Yogamaya represented by, or sorry, not Yogamaya, Mahamaya represented by Parvati. Parvati is basically the power, she is the Maya Devi, and she also makes us forget that Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Maya Adhyakshana Prakriti. Adhyakshata means what? Under my control. Maya is under my control. But Krishna's arrangement is such that the Maya Devi's job is to make us forget about Krishna. And what is the everyday example of Maya? Everyday example. Explained to me by our Harivilas Maharaj, VCC. His Holiness Harivilas Maharaj. He said, hear me out, because this is like, you have to catch it. When other people do mistakes, they should suffer. Do you agree? Please answer. When other people suffer, no, when other people make mistakes, they should go through some punishment or suffering, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Natural?
Yeah.
Okay. Now process the second statement. I am suffering. I am suffering, but not because of my mistakes. Agree on the second statement also? I'm
Yes.
going through some suffering, but I can't connect it with what did I do wrong. That is Maya. What does that mean? First and foremost, to begin spirituality, we have to accept my sufferings are a result of my past. Then once you accept, and you know, a lot of Hare Krishna leaders, they go to jail, uh, in the jail, not to jail, in the jail to preach to the prisoners. And when they ask, personally connect with those prisoners and ask, what did you do? How did you land here? Hardly anyone says, this is the mistake I did and this is how I landed here. In the USA, many people would tell Harilas Maharaj, I was framed. I was unfairly put over here. People don't admit that they did a mistake. We don't admit we did a mistake. They are in a very particular jail. We are also in the material world, which is like a jail. We are suffering. So the point is, we Maya Devi is very powerful and she exerts her influence through Sattoguna, Rajoguna, Tamoguna, like Mataji called out. So in Sattoguna, the Sattoguna drives us, we behave in certain way, which is by worldly standards, it is very good. And then when Maya Devi drives us, we go into mode of passion. We want to work 12 hours. We want to get higher education. We want to do more business. We want to make more money. We want to make lavish arrangements. That is mode of passion. Ignorance is when laziness takes over. Right? So laziness, and then that leads to so many other problems like drugs and unclean behavior and all that. So Maya Devi is playing with us through three gunas, and then beyond three gunas is Yoga Maya, who's playing with us by covering our relationship to Krishna. So both ways our relationship to Krishna is covered, Krishna is covered. Yoga Maya covers Krishna also. Because Krishna also wants to enjoy the relationship. So that's why Krishna is saying it is very difficult to know me. But he says, I know past, present, and future. And the part we need to understand is Leela and Siddhanta. Now, what is a Leela? What is a Siddhanta? A judge is playing with his grandchild. The grandchild says, climbs up on the back of the grandfather, who's a judge in his home, and says that you become my horse. And now the judge is crawling on the ground, becoming a horse for the grandchild. That is not the legal position of the judge to be a horse for babies. That is Leela. But when he judge, he's awarding death punishments to people who are big time criminals, very scary people. That is Siddhanta. He's the judge. So with Krishna, as a Siddhanta, he's the supreme personality of the Godhead, all powerful. He's the beginning, he's the end, he's everything. In Leela, the same personality takes a very loving relationship with people who love him. And it is possible to Krishna know Krishna better out of love. Why? Because if you watch, whom would you share your life story with? People you fall in love, people who are in friendship with you, people who are being nice to you, or are you going to share your life story with somebody who speaks bad about you, is trying to hurt you? Are you going to tell them your deepest secrets? So Krishna says, one may be, through yogic system, one may become a Maharishi, he may become something great, but they cannot know me. And who can know me? My devotees. So without being Krishna conscious, you cannot know about Krishna. Even after being Krishna conscious, think of it like this. Uh, yeah, everybody's married over here, right? So, say I'll take an example. If you are married and now you know few things about your wife. And then there are few things you will learn about your wife in future. and then few things about your wife that you will never know. Equally true for wives. You learn few things about your husband after you got in the relationship. Few things you will learn more in the due period of time, and few things you will never learn. If that is true for us, it is also true for our relationship with Krishna, that Krishna is not fully knowable to people like us. Very, very rare. That is what it's called. That also proves his supremacy as per the standards of Bhagavad Gita, proves his supremacy over everybody else, where the Mayavadis or impersonalists who basically go through this chakra balancing and so many chakra activation and a lot of yogic systems, because they achieve some siddhis. Siddhis are like, oh, you start to know better than others what's going on. You start to control your own body organs better. You start to um, control your mind better. You are able to do out of body travel. Then in extreme levels, people have this Ashtasiddhis or something where Laghima, Mahima, you can become the smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest. Prapti Siddhi, Costco में iPhone पड़ा है, you can extend your hand, bring it here. Oh, आ गया. So Prapti Siddhi, many people have it. So when they start to get these siddhis, they think by practicing this more, I can become God. In the process, they forget who is real God, and then they miss the mark. So Maya Devi, she basically engages souls in the process of believing that they are only God, so that they ignore the real God. That is also Maya Devi's last snare. Last snare means last step. क्योंकि अभी उन्होंने क्या किया? They, कांचन, कामिनी, दारू, ये सबसे बाहर आ गए. Yogis, they give up on worldly association at a bodily level. They give up on wine. They give up on gold. बाकी सब attraction तो चला गया. But now the attraction to call yourself only God, they got into that. So Maya Devi is ultimately powerful. She tricks you, and the only way to stay out of her tricks is that basically take shelter of Krishna, connect with Krishna. Once you are connected with Krishna, because Maya Devi is a teacher appointed by Krishna. So when you are in touch with Krishna, teacher will not trouble you. Like when you are with your parents, can a school teacher scold you? No. Even if you are doing mistakes, no, they cannot scold you. Okay. So any questions before we go to the next one? Okay, this is also important one. Ichha dvesha samuthena
Ichha dvesha samuthena
dvanda mohena bharata
dvanda mohena bharata
sarva bhutani samoham
sarva bhutani samoham
sarge yanti parantapa.
sarge yanti parantapa.
Ichha, desire, dvesha, and hate, samuthena, arisen from, dvanda, of duality, mohena, by the illusion, bharata, O scion of Bharata, sarva, all, bhutani, living entities, sammohan, into delusion, sarge, while taking birth, yanti, go, parantapa, O conqueror of enemies. Translation: O scion of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arisen from desire and hate. So now see, initially at the start of this section, we were told that how we get into Maya, that will be explained. So purport, anybody?
Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes.
The real constitutional position of the living entity is that of subordination to the Supreme Lord, who is pure knowledge. When one is deluded into separation from this pure knowledge, he becomes controlled by the illusion energy and cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The illusionary energy is manifested in the duality of desire and hate. Due to desire and hate, the ignorant person wants to become one with the Supreme Lord and envies Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Pure devotees who are not deluded or contaminated by desire and hate can understand that Lord Krishna appears by his internal potencies. But those who are deluded by duality and nescience think that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is created by material energies. This is their misfortune. Such deluded persons symptomatically dwell in dualities of dishonor and honor, misery and happiness, women and man, good and bad, pleasure and pain, etc., thinking, this is my wife, this is my house, I am the master of this house, I am the husband of this wife. These are the dualities of delusion. Those who are so deluded by dualities are completely foolish and therefore cannot understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Bhujan Prabhu notes, O Sian of Bharata, O conqueror of the foe, all living entities are born into delusion, bewildered by dualities arising from desire and hate. From the beginning of creation, the conditioned living entities are born into the illusionary world of duality, desire, and hate. Thus, they desire, Ichha, one set of sense objects and are repulsed, Dvesha, by another set. And they are capable of being repulsed by objects to which they are attracted only moments before. At times, they are repulsed by thoughts of a Supreme who is beyond themselves.
Prabhu, you can read the last paragraph directly.
Okay, Prabhuji. This point further reveals the rarity of the Jnani, because as described in text 16 to 19, Jnanis are beyond being fooled by dualities of happiness and distress, male and female, and so on. One may ask, after hearing text 27, whether anyone is in fact capable of overcoming illusion and becoming a devotee.
Any questions on this? The illusory energy is basically making us believe what? I am Ganesh, I am this, I am husband, I am wife, I am doctor, I am engineer. So what are the 5 walls? Do we remember? 8 walls that control the soul. 8 material walls. Anybody remembers? In the DYS we had covered that. So Panchatattva are controlling us.
Yes.
Yes, correct. Then there are 3 subtle entities covering us. What are the 3 subtle energies controlling us? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. So Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayu, these are the gross material things, which is like Bhumi. Bhumi is the earth, and then water, air, fire, ether. These are the walls used to construct we being here. Okay, that includes how the material world is also built. Then around the soul, there are 3 subtle coverings. One is mind. Mind is covering the soul. Second is intelligence. Intelligence is ability to distinguish between good and bad. And what happens as these walls gradually become more subtle? You know what is subtle? Can you touch your mind? Can you feel your mind? Can you pull your mind? No. It's there, but thought. Can you touch your thought? Can you see a thought? You can maybe write down a thought. So these are subtle things. So subtle things are more powerful actually. How subtle things are more powerful? Each wall is 10 times stronger than the previous wall. The soul is stuck in the Bhumi, Apo, Nalo, Vayu. The last wall is, so for example, earth is less subtle, right? And then water. Water is more subtle than water is Vayu, more subtle than Vayu is ether, space, and then more subtle than that is mind, more subtle than mind is intelligence, more subtle than intelligence is false ego, mithya ahankar. Ahankar means basically I actually believe I am this person, body. I am Ganesh, I am something in the society. So that basically is the last wall, and because each wall is 10 times stronger than the previous wall, that is the strongest wall to break, which is false ego. And everybody who goes back to spiritual world has to break the 8 walls, and the 8 wall is the strongest. And you can only break that with the mercy of Krishna, right? Or and the parampara. How? If my hands are tied and your hands are tied and everybody's hands are tied, how are we going to kind of unlock ourselves? There has to be somebody in the room who is unlocked themselves, and they have the tools and they will unlock us. So parampara are those people who are themselves unlocked, they can unlock us also. That is why we take shelter of parampara, gurus, teachers, Bhagavad Gita, because they can help us. So any questions on what we said just now? We continue reading. Esham tva antagatam papam
Yesham tva antagatam papam
jananam punya karmanam
jananam punya karmanam
te dvanda moha nirmukta
te dvanda moha nirmukta
bhajante ma drudha
bhajante mam vrata.
Yesham, whose, too, but antagatam, completely eradicated, papam, sin, jnanam of the persons, punya, pious, karmana, whose previous activities, they, dvanda, of duality, moha, delusion, nirmukta, free from, bhajante, engage in devotional service, mam, to me, drudha vrataha, with determination. Persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated are freed from duality of delusion and they engage themselves in my service with determination. That's why they say if you are engaged in devotional service, it's a sign that all your karma is getting under control. That's a good sign to see, right? Okay, purport. Any volunteer? Those eligible for elevation to the transcendental position are mentioned in this verse. For those who are sinful, atheist, foolish, and deceitful, it is very difficult to transcend the dualities of desire and hate. Only those who have passed their lives in practicing the regulative principles of religion, who have acted piously, and who have conquered sinful reactions can accept devotional service and gradually rise to the pure knowledge of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Then gradually they can meditate in trance on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is the process of being situated on the spiritual platform. This elevation is possible in Krishna consciousness in the association of pure devotees. For in the association of great devotees, one can be delivered from delusion. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 that if one actually wants to be liberated, must render service to devotees. Mahat sevam dwaram ahur vimukte. Now you know when the saffron, the monks come, why we go after them, why we serve them, right? Because that's recommended. But one who associates with materialistic people on the path leading to darkest region of existence, tamo dwaram yositam sangi sangam. Like Kanai Thakur was here and he was explaining in one of the classes that you are whom you associate with. If you associate with MBA professors in the university, you become MBA, correct? If you take education of medical, then you are associating with people who are in the medical profession. So you become the medical doctor or something. Like that, when you are in company with sinful people, you become sinful. And when you are in the company of devotees, you become a devotee, a transcendentalist. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from their delusion. There are all these monks who are traveling around the world. Prabhupada calls out. Why they are traveling? The impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to the Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. The impersonalists, I read again, the impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position as subordinate to Supreme Lord is the greatest violation of God's law. Unless one is reinstated in his own constitutional position, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Personality or to be fully engaged in the transcendental loving service or with determination. Can you imagine? आपके घर में बड़ा party हो रहा है, you invite somebody, that person starts telling everybody, I am the lord of this house actually. I am the house owner. I am the husband. I am the father. Like, okay. I know other guests could come in and they could do simple mistakes like breaking a glass jar, breaking a portrait. Um, you are about to cut your cake and basically they sneeze into the cake. Those mistakes can happen and they'll be forgiven actually. But if you invite 50 people to your party and that guy starts telling that actually he's the owner of the house, he's the main guy in the house, and he's the head of the family. Now you have a problem that cannot be forgiven. The only option is that that person should be basically out of the party, right? So then it's not possible to go to the real spiritual world for people who are confused about their identity in the first place. So be careful. And even hearing from these Anandas, a lot of Anandas are there on YouTube who are trying to say things in a very eloquent manner. Ultimately, they're trying to say, we are only God. Be careful. It is stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam 5.5.2 that if one actually wants to be liberated, must render service to the devotees, mas sevanam ahur vimukte. But one who is associated with materialistic people is on the path leading to the darkest region, Tamoguna. All the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth. I'm repeating, I guess. This impersonalists do not know that forgetting their constitutional position is the biggest sin. Then Bhurijana Prabhu, persons who have acted piously, that also is covered. Don't you guys think we are repeating? So persons who have acted piously in previous lives and in this life and whose sinful actions are completely eradicated are freed from dualities of delusion and they engage themselves in the service. Pious persons are qualified to take devotional service not exactly because of their piety, but because their piety attracts a pure devotee's mercy. It is the mercy of the Lord's devotee and nothing else that destroys the sins and establishes faith in bhakti. Very important statement. There are two siddhas. One is sadhana siddha and one is krupa siddha. Sadhana siddha means that person does so many penances, so much of tapasya that they are able to overcome their previous karma. And what is the second option? It's not what you know, it's who you know. If you know some pure devotee and if you serve the pure devotees, then because they are happy with you, that will destroy all the sins because they pray for you and establishes faith in bhakti. Thus, it is bhakta's business to distribute Krishna consciousness to others. Even they say even Krishna doesn't have bhakti because how can he have bhakti for himself? So basically, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes as a devotee of Krishna and distributes the bhakti. And Kanada Guru gives such a good example. He says there are 100 beggars sitting outside a temple. And a big millionaire comes and he gives $1 million check to all the beggars. Okay. Now that beggar is a beggar also and he is a millionaire also. How will that beggar will become a real millionaire? When he takes that check to the banker and banker encashes that check and gives him the $1 million. Until then, he's a beggar and millionaire at the same time. That is our situation. We may have piety, we may have good karma from the back, but that is like that big check. And where do you encash that check? You go to a bhakta and offer services. How? If you have a pious background, you may be very well positioned in your career. You may be a big businessman. You may be very healthy person who can lift 100 kilos of weight. So that is your piety. But then when you engage those opulences in the service of Krishna under the instruction of a good bhakta, Shuddha bhakta, then now your piety is being encashed and now the devotion arises. Clear? Srila Prabhupada writes, all the devotees of the Lord traverse this earth just to recover the conditioned souls from this delusion. Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan's comment points directly to the unique and magnanimous contribution of Srila Prabhupada. But do we ever find devotion for you in anyone? It seems that this would not be the case. Judging by your statement that all beings in creation are born into delusion, Elbus Bunsterbo. I don't know what is that. Elbus Bunsterbo. You can Google it. Uh, those living beings who have received this merciful glance of the topmost pure souls will have all their sinful reactions destroyed. As stated in Shruti, the personal servants of the Lord Vishnu wander this world to purify the conditioned souls. What characteristics are found in those who receive such a mercy? This is answered by the phrase Punya Karmanam. Their activity of taking the darshana of great souls is punya, attractive or charming. Becoming firm in their vows and gaining determination by virtue of association of great souls, they are freed from the delusion of duality. Coming to understand the truth about me, they engage in worshipping me. How magnificent then was Srila Prabhupada, who so widely cast his purifying glance that it fell upon even the impious and those engaged in most unfortunate works, and thus he created this punya karmana. Another kind of devotee, one with mixed intentions, is described next. Very powerful. It shows the role of the devotees. And when we say the role of the devotees, the real transcendental progress can happen not because we have capability to do lots of penances. It will take time, but we will get there if we do that. But if we take shelter of devotees who are ahead of us, it's like a mountain climbing where somebody throws a rope to us, we can climb up really fast. But when we try to climb up through every rock and every hook, that mountain climbing is difficult. But if you have a team leader who is ahead of you, he keeps throwing the rope for you, and he's doing the hard part, and he's making it easy. He puts a ladder for you. That is what Bhakti Yoga is said as the elevator process. You just zoom. You can connect with Krishna so quickly. You can get your highest perfection. And if you chant even once Krishna's name, like pure holy name, not Namabhas, what we are doing in the conditioned state of life is we are calling Krishna's Namabhas. Abhas means shadow name. So by practicing shadow name, ultimately we can get to mukti. But if you want to get in touch with Krishna in his Leela, you have to touch the holy name, pure holy name. So, and because devotees of Lord make this available to everybody else, that is why they are called as magnanimous. That's why they are called as, very munificent. And uh, there is a story of Narad Muni and Daksha's children. So Daksha gave birth. When the earth was to be populated, and Daksha Prajapati had the duty. Daksha Prajapati basically created yogic system. Don't think it's a bodily thing. He basically manifested thousands of sons, and he said, "Go and make families and make babies and populate this material universe because it's just freshly created." So Narad Muni went to them and they said, "Do tapasya and become basically a celibate monk. Why you want to get into this family business? How will you get liberation?" And they all became like monks. Then Daksha again created, Narad Muni again preached to them, they again became monks. Now Daksha's project is getting impacted. His duty is what? To create the population. Now what is Narad Muni doing? He is basically sending them the monks' way. So he cursed Narad Muni. What did he curse? He said, "You will not be able to stay in one place for too long." And Narad Muni happily accepted. That's why Narada Muni Bajaya Vina is going around across material and spiritual universes. And he has this siddhi that whoever he speaks to, their spiritual life gets enlivened and, really they get started. And he has given it to Valmiki and Mrugari and so many. In France, there was a musical program going on, and our devotees, Prabhupada and his disciples, and they knew which bhajans they are going to sing in an auditorium. And then suddenly Srila Prabhupada started singing Narada Muni Bajaya Veena, Radhika Ramana Bole, something like that. And he started singing so ecstatically, and the whole his music team, everybody fell off because they were not prepared for that song, that tune, and switch off suddenly to that song. And after the program, all the disciples came to Srila Prabhupada, said, Srila Prabhupada, um, we had certain songs we had agreed that this is what we are going to sing. You suddenly started singing. What happened? Prabhupada said, what? You did not see? You did not see? Narad Muni was there. That's why I was singing to Narad Muni. So Narad Muni can be everywhere, and he gave darshan to Srila Prabhupada. And so effectively, it's a very, very divine parampara we are connected to, where whatever we are reading in Srimad Bhagavatam is everyday life for us. It can manifest to us, we can get darshans, we can get miracles. The point is to give up on everyday type of life and get seriously into the spiritual life. And because the pure devotees play their role in this business, that is why the process of initiation is also very important. Because ultimately, by our own effort, we may not be able to drop our karma. But if we take a shelter of the parampara, if we take initiation of a spiritual master and do good due diligence on whom you select, but if you are chanting 16 rounds or you are nearby and following four regulative principles, that's a good time to start praying to Krishna, saying that Krishna, please reveal to me who is my spiritual master. And as you get in touch with your spiritual master, what will happen? Your spiritual life will get enhanced to next levels. And you will have some personal accountability for making sure that not only what you are following today, you'll follow 5 years from now, but you will follow good things till the point of death. And because the karma goes on hold, life, everyday dualities of trouble of life, kiye karu ki wo karu ki wo karu ki wo karu. So all those things get under control. Why? For example, in our family, when we said let's do a vacation which is not Krishna conscious, just scenic place pe jana hai, we just want to become happy. It was like a mini Mahabharata war. Everybody wanted to go to different place. We couldn't agree on where to go. But when we want to go to spiritual place, the agreement is very clear. Vrindavan, Jagannath Puri. There's not much fight about that. Who is taking the yatra? Oh, Kanai Thakur Prabhu is taking the yatra. Let's go. So in a pond, if you throw 5 stones, then 5 concentric circles will be created, and they all circles will collide with each other because there are 5 centers. Like in the family, there are 4 people, there will be 4 concentric circles. But if you add Krishna in the center and say we want to weave our life around Krishna consciousness, then there is not much fight because there is only one concentric circle that is getting created, and we can follow that. So yes, we should be looking at in next steps in our spiritual life is to one is to follow what it takes to get a spiritual master, which is 4 regulative principles and for 16 rounds, but also keep an eye on who could be, Krishna may reveal, Krishna not may, Krishna will reveal in your heart who is your spiritual master. Do not take any external guidances. You can find information, but you don't take anybody's instruction or advice on go to this spiritual master or go to that spiritual master. Never do that. Why? Krishna gives you Guru and Guru gives you Krishna. And if you break that cycle, you may end up taking initiation from a spiritual master whom you are not convinced about. When you feel it within your heart and when you take the spiritual initiation, you are willing to commit your life to that spiritual master. And that is not an easy decision unless it comes from your heart. Externally, that is not a good idea. Artificially, you cannot commit your life. And hence, it is better that you wait for Krishna to reveal it in your heart and feel like fully convinced, like, no, Guru Maharaj says tomorrow go to Antarctica, I'll go to Antarctica. Good news, Guru Maharaj will not say that. But that is a great way to take the shelter, get in parampara, and fast track the burning of our karma. Karma goes on hold at the point of initiation, and it may bounce back if we decide to break away from the parampara, start breaking the regulative principles. It may come back 10 times faster and hit you because you got that period where the karma was not hitting you. Now there is a backlog. Okay. So Continuing on the reading. All right. Jara Marana Mokshaya
Jara Marna Mokshaya
Mama Ashritya Yatantiye
Mam
Mama
Ashrita
Ashrite Yatantiye
Yatantete
He Brahma Tad Viduhu Kutsnanam
Te Brahma Tadvidu Krishnam
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 Kritsnam Adhyatmam Charmachakilam
Adhyatmam
Adhyatmam
Karma
Karma
Chakilam
Chachilam
Jara from old age, Marana from death, Moksha, ya for the purpose of liberation, Mam, me, Ashrita taking shelter of, Yayanti endure, ye, all those who, they, such a persons, Brahma, Brahman, Tat actually that, Vidhu, they know, Kritsnam, everything, Adhyatmam, Adhyatmam, transcendental karma activities, Cha also, Akhilam entirely. Translation: intelligent persons who are endeavoring means effort, putting effort for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman in spiritual because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Purport. Anyone?
I can read, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Birth, death, old age, and diseases affect this material body, but not the spiritual body. There is no birth, death, old age, and disease for the spiritual body. So, one who attains a spiritual body becomes one of the associates of Supreme Personality of Godhead and engages in eternal devotional service is really liberated. Aham Brahmasmi, I am spirit. It is said that one should understand that he is Brahman, spirit soul. This Brahman conception of life is also in devotional service, as described in this verse. The pure devotees are transcendentally situated on Brahman platform and they know everything about transcendental activities. Four kinds of impure devotees who engage themselves in transcendental service of the Lord achieve their respective goals. And by the grace of Supreme Lord, when they are fully Krishna conscious, they actually enjoy spiritual association with Supreme Lord. But those who are worshippers of demigods never reach the Supreme Lord in his supreme planet. Even the less intelligent Brahman realized persons cannot reach the supreme planet of Krishna, known as Golika Vrindavan. Only persons who perform activities in Krishna consciousness, Mam Ashritya, are actually entitled to be called Brahman because they are actually endeavoring to reach the Krishna planet. Such persons have no misgivings about Krishna and thus they are factually Brahman. Those who are engaged in worshipping of the form or archa of the Lord, or who are engaged in the meditation on the Lord simply for liberation from material bondage, also know by the grace of the Lord the purports of Brahman, Adhibhuta, etc., as explained by Lord in the next chapter. Gurujan Prabhu notes intelligent persons who are endeavoring for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. Here, Krishna describes a fourth kind of Sakama devotee, one whose devotion is mixed with desire for liberation from the cycle of birth and death. His position will further discussed in chapter 8. Such a devotee is Brahman and knows everything about Adhyatma, the self or jiva, and karma activities. Those three terms will also be explained in chapter 8 along with three more terms mentioned in the next verse. Hare Krishna.
Intelligent persons who are trying for liberation from old age and death take refuge in me in devotional service. They are actually Brahman because they entirely know everything about transcendental activities. And Srila Prabhupada is making sure that those who do not accept Krishna as Supreme Person, the Godhead, cannot be called as Brahman or Transcendentalist. Okay. Those who know me, 7.30. साधिभूत अधिदैवं मा
साधिभूता अधिदेवं मां
साधियज्ञं च ये विदुः
साधियज्ञं साचे ये विदु
प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मा
प्रयाणकालेऽपि च मां
ते विदुरयुक्तचेतसः
ते विदुर्युक्ता चेतसा.
Sa Adhibhuta and the governing principle of the material manifestation. Adhidaivam, governing all the demigods. Mam, me. Sa Adhiyajnam, and governing all sacrifices. Cha, also. Ye, those who. Viduhu, knows. Prayana, of death. Kale, at the time. Api, even. Cha, and. Mam, me. They, Viduhu, knows. Yukta Chetasaha, their minds engaged in me. Translation. Those in full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and all the methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. Purport.
Prabhuji, I can read.
Yes.
Persons acting in Krishna consciousness are never deviated from the path of entirely understanding the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the transcendental association of Krishna consciousness, one can understand how the Supreme Lord is the governing principle of the material manifestation and even of the demigods. Gradually, by such transcendental association, one becomes convinced of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and at the time of death, such a Krishna conscious person can never forget Krishna. Naturally, he is thus promoted to the planet of Supreme Lord Goloka Vrindavan. This 7th chapter particularly explains one can become a fully Krishna conscious person. The beginning of Krishna consciousness is association of persons who are Krishna conscious. Such association is spiritual and puts one directly in touch with the Supreme Lord, and by his grace, one can understand Krishna to be the Supreme Personality of Godhead. At the same time, one can really understand the constitutional position of the living entity and how the living entity forgets Krishna and become entangled in material activities. By gradual development of Krishna consciousness in good association, the living entity can understand that due to forgetfulness of Krishna, he has become conditioned by the laws of material nature. He can also understand that this human form of life is an opportunity to regain Krishna consciousness, and that it should be fully utilized to attain the causeless mercy of the Supreme Lord. Many subjects have been discussed in this chapter: the man in distress, the inquisitive man, the man in want of material necessities, knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, liberation from birth, death, and diseases, and worship of the Supreme Lord. However, he who is actually elevated in Krishna consciousness does not care for the different processes. He simply directly engages himself in activities of Krishna consciousness and thereby factually attains his constitutional position as an eternal servitor of the Lord Krishna. In such a situation, he takes pleasure in hearing and glorifying the Supreme Lord in pure devotional service. He is convinced that by his doing so, all his objectives will be fulfilled. This determined faith is called Dhrada Vrata, and it is the beginning of Bhakti Yoga, of or transcendental loving service. That is the verdict of all scriptures. This 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is the substance of that conviction. Pujan Prabhu notes, those on full consciousness of me, who know me, the Supreme Lord, to be the governing principle of the material manifestation of the demigods and all methods of sacrifice, can understand and know me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, even at the time of death. 3 additional concepts are mentioned: Adhibhuta, Adideva, and Adiyagna. Arjuna will ask about their meanings at the beginning of the next chapter. By naming himself as the governing principle behind the material manifestation, the demigods and acts of sacrifice, Krishna directs the knowledge, desires, and service of many classes of individual towards his lotus feet. The benefit of that, and this has special significance to Arjuna because he is standing on a battlefield about to fight, is that one with this consciousness can know Krishna at the time of death.
Is that the end of the chapter, guys?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay, very nice. So amazing chapter. Seventh chapter is my most favorite chapter, primarily because first time Krishna speaks about him directly. And the first, second, third, fourth, five, six, he's talking about different things and different types of yogas and all that. But he's not getting down to the point that Krishna is the supreme personality of the Godhead. You can decipher, but it's not direct. And in seventh chapter, he gets down to business. Like, okay, Arjuna asks about questions and he gives all information because Arjuna is a non-envious friend. See, if somebody is a well-wisher, you'll share information, right? Somebody is thinking not good about you, you'll hold back the information. So Arjuna becomes the instrument for us to also become non-envious with Lord. How do you become non-envious with Lord? You have to become non-envious to his children. So if people around you make progress in some sense, somebody you are competing for promotion in office, somebody else gets the promotion, it's okay. They deserved it, they got it. And we should not be envious. Like that's the greatest point of envy. Then there is neighbors. If some of our neighbors are poor in the previous generation, they become rich in the new generation. In the villages, you see that a lot. People are very envious, saying that, oh, they became so rich, suddenly they were poor in front of our eyes. So anybody progressing becomes an envy point, and envy, if we are envying children of Krishna, that means we are envying Krishna also. And unless we become non-envious to Krishna, that means non-envious to people around us, the spiritual knowledge will only remain words in Bhagavad Gita. They will not transform our heart. So it is very important to be non-envious to people around us. And that goes in everyday family life also, relatives and all of that. So any questions on that? If not, we are closing this chapter. We are also, that means ending early. And we can first take reflections, any comments, questions, and then we can close. Who would like to go? Yes, bro.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. So, Prabhuji, I think I have one question first on this karma thing, right? So, we have seen some people who initially are spiritual and somehow some things happen and they get distracted. So, is this sequential that they did something wrong later in their previous lives, or how does this work when they move out of spirituality or things change all of a sudden for them?
Krishna wants us to be in love with him like we were said before. He wants us to be in love by your own choice. So that soul's free will is always playing. And even if we take up spirituality, think of it like you slept for nice 9-10 hours and then you're in a slumber, like you're still deep sleep, and then the gentle alarm rings. Now you're trying to wake up a little bit and then trying to access that clock. Why? To snooze. You may snooze the alarm, go to sleep again. I snooze alarm again, go to sleep again. You are awake also, you are sleeping also. You are awake also, you are sleeping also. After millions of lifetimes of spiritual sleep or material sleep that we're in, we may wake up in this lifetime and then want to snooze again, want to snooze again. So it's not very surprising if a soul exerts its free will and wants to go away from spiritual life. Now, the good news is, once you attempt to go back to Krishna, even if you are failing, Krishna does not give up on you. Your liberation, Krishna will take care. I'll explain you how. Indra Prabhu. Have you heard of Indra Prabhu?
No.
Hear music, please hear Indra Prabhu's music. Songs. Indra Prabhu was, so just confirm one time. Have I explained about Indra Prabhu? His life story?
No.
Very, very, very interesting. Indra Prabhu was born to hippie parents in New Virginia, somewhere around there, that region. And as he became 16 years, 18 years old, he saw Hare Krishnas. Those are the days of Prabhupada's disciples singing everywhere on the road in Nagar Sankirtana. Was like whole America was taken by the storm of Nagar Sankirtana. And uh, those are not the days of social media and Human Rights Watch and all that. Things were little, cops were a bit more hard. But these Hare Krishnas had taken over the whole America. In every villages, they were distributing the books. They were getting truckload of books and they were distributing. Truckload of books and they were distributing. There were these Americans didn't know what to do with their children taking up Hare Krishna. So they had a kind of mafia type units created. These were called as deprogramming units. They would capture their teenagers back from Hare Krishna movement and they will put through a deprogramming experience to bring back them back to the normal Christian life. It was that bad. It was like Prabhupada once said, if they knew what I was up to, they would have killed me already. Old man, 70 plus. He comes and lights the fire of Hare Krishna and he takes over the whole America. People don't know how to stop it. Right? So Indra Prabhu was 16, 18-year-old boy grown to hippie parents. Means his parents were only hippie. Now you tell me what kind of a Vedic education or what type of good habits were taught to him. But then he was fond of music. So when he saw this Hare Krishna singing on the music, he just told his parents, I'm joining them. And they were like, fine. They were already hippies. They were not like very conservative Christians who say, oh, you are trying something else. No, no, no. You'll go to hell or something. So then he joined them. In the first week of joining the ISKCON temple, he would go out on the streets and chant Hare Krishna incessantly for 16 hours and come home. Even Harivilas Maharaj used to chant Hare Krishna 16 hours on the streets of Paris. They would go through every corner of Paris every day. The temple knew where to send their lunch, where to send their breakfast, and where to send their dinner because they are on the street whole day. And he would get miraculous feedback from people. Somebody wanted to commit a suicide, and she called him once and she said, you know what? And she had a big, huge mansion. She said, I was going to jump off my mansion, but I see you going by every day and dancing so happily, and I know you guys have nothing. Like Harivilas Maharaj, 15, 16 Hare Krishna teenagers, girls and boys, were staying in one apartment that had no kitchen. And they were not paying the rent, so they were kind of what is it? They locked them out, saying that no, you cannot enter this place. Then they illegally again opened a flat, and they were living there without supply of water, electricity, or anything, without running water. So very austere. So coming back to Indra Prabhu, and then that lady said, because I see you so happy without having anything, I have given up my thought to commit suicide. Although I was very unhappy. You gave me the hope. And like that, they used to get very positive experiences in Paris and some mixed experience also. So now, Indra Prabhu, he joined and he used to go chant 16 hours every day. In first way, 1 week, he got you cannot call it purely a dream. You cannot say a direct experience. It was somewhere in the middle. He was about to go to sleep. He was about to go to sleep in the night. And he got this dream-like situation where he feels that he's underground. And above him is grass, the earthly grass. There is grass above him, and then he hears a stampede. A lot of hundreds and thousands of cows or calves, when they run, how the ground would shake, right? There's a stampede coming towards him. The sound is growing. And there are lots of musical instruments also. That sound is also growing. Somebody is playing the buffalo horn, somebody is playing the drum, that sound is also growing. All these hundreds of kids are running like this, right? And in the dress of Gopas. And suddenly one teenager stops right there. And that is not even teenager. One boy stops over there, and that is Krishna. And he looks at Indra Prabhu straight into the ground. So Indra Prabhu is underground. Krishna is standing above the ground. He stops for a few seconds and he locks eyes with Indra Prabhu. And, and then somebody calls him, his friends, they call him. Then Krishna starts running again, and the whole stampede passes. And it's like just 1 week of coming over here. You got Krishna's darshan in the Gopal Leela where they are playing in the spiritual world. And he started getting dreams. In dreams, the angels come and they start telling him, finally, 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 you have come to the right place. Don't leave this place. Don't leave this place. Don't leave this moment. And he gets further and further convinced that Hare Krishna is the right place to be because otherwise hippies, right? And then he relocates to Vrindavan and says, I will never leave Vrindavan again. Now, now you have electricity and so many facilities. In those days, there is nothing. And he comes to Vrindavan, he says, I am here in Vrindavan, and he's always in Vrindavan. And in Vrindavan also, his schedule is crazy. He does altar service in the temple, but basically at night he will start preparing bhoga for the Lord. Until 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, he's making feast for the Lord. Why? Krishna has to go and dance, he'll be hungry with gopis. In the middle of the night, he's making the bhoga offering. He had his own schedule, nobody could understand. He's like above the sannyasi, brahmachari, grahastha. He was above all that. And then finally, the news came that his dad was about to leave his body in America, the hippie father. His dad was about to leave his body. That the news came from America. The person who came the news, he just kind of took out he had a lot of tulsi malas like this. He just took out one tulsi mala and he said, put it in the fire of my dad. So one, he did not go back to America because he said, I will never leave Vrindavan. And previous night he had a dream also. In dream, Krishna came and said, look, I put you in the family of this man because this man, your father, was a disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur. He was serving very nicely. Then he decided to peel off and go have material life, enjoy. And so then he got this, then his next life was becoming a hippie in America. Now, what do hippies do? They break all principles and they just want to enjoy music and food and wine and women. That's what they want to do. So he got one life of that only. And said, but I have put you in his family so that you will liberate him. Then Indra Prabhu gave this mala because in our end fire, final fire, if Tulsi mala is there, we get liberated. A very good idea to carry it always. Wear it. Why? We can die any moment. So then, so basically he liberated his father. Somehow his family decided to do a fire ceremony instead of burial. And the mala also reached on time. And it was put into the fire and how his father was liberated. So now if you see, although that person, disciple of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, had given up on Krishna, Guru, Parampara, Vaishnavism, everything. Krishna did not give up on him. He sent a son, a soul, so qualified son, into his family that he got liberated. So, whether you fall in love with Krishna or not, but once you attempt to go towards Krishna, your liberation is guaranteed. Krishna will make sure you are liberated. Now, are you liberated and going into the Goloka and the spiritual world where you're playing with Krishna? That may not happen because you did not take time to fall in love. But you'll be free from birth, death, old age, disease. You'll be in the spiritual world. In that sense. Does that explain, Rajat?
Ji Prabhuji. So one more question on we read like must render service to devotees. So, but like we do many other activities which are for we don't care whether it is a devotee or not devotee. We just render service. So, how does that translate? Like, should we only render services to devotees or?
What's a good example of helping people who are not devotees?
Uh, for example, like let's take food truck, right? It goes out. They are helping people, but we don't know who is coming there, whether they are devotee or not devotee. But from our side, we are helping. So is that the right way, or we should be focusing more towards devotee side?
Very good question. Very, very good question. We are, give me 1 second. My wife doesn't know where I'm hiding in the house. I'm giving notice. You go, you go. Yes, Minton. Okay, sorry guys. So we are serving Srila Prabhupada. We are serving because whose instruction it is to go on the food truck and serve? It is Harivilas Maharaj. Whom Harivilas Maharaj is serving? Srila Prabhupada. So we're
Okay.
not serving really the homeless people. We are serving we are of course serving them also, but we are serving it under the instruction on a spiritual project of a bona fide Parampara Guru. That means we are serving Krishna
Okay, got it.
in the process of. So we are going and doing these device classes for unknown people. Are we serving them? Of course we are, but under the instruction and for the pleasure of Srila Prabhupada. So it's bona fide, very bona fide actually.
Okay, got it. Thank
Do
you,
you have
Guruji.
any other example of whether that thing is bona fide or not?
No, I think I got the answer now, so I'm good. Thank you, Guruji.
Very good. Thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hari Krishna Rasguru. Kanu Prabhu, you are on video. See you are next.
Yes, Prabhuji. So my reflection, Prabhuji. So we talked about the Maya. So simply that which is not. So you rightly explained the Yogamaya and the Mahamaya, how potency works, how even Yogamaya hides Krishna itself. So um, it's very, very difficult to get association to know Krishna in the first place. So our only way to go about this is that we should serve the devotees. We should make sure that we render devotional service, and only then we can be liberated. And again, like Prabhuji, you mentioned with an example, how even if we forget Krishna, Krishna through any channel, through any way, he will try to liberate us. He will try to bring us even in next lifetime, or he will make so many ways possible to get you to know him and get his mercy. So, Prabhuji, that was my reflection.
Very nice.
Thank you.
What happens? We are starting with say device class and all that, and we practice ISKCON Hare Krishna. Our next life could be that we are born in a dham and we live in dham, and we are spending time with a lot of devotees who are like multi-generational devotees only, and we get to practice over there. Then our next life after that could be where in so many material universes, Krishna is always doing his lila somewhere. Like 5,000 years back, he was in Vrindavan. So we are born in that dham where Krishna's present lila in the material world are going on. And then we get to see Krishna, we get to connect Krishna, we get to serve Krishna. And gradually we can go back to the spiritual world like that. So Krishna keeps arranging next level, like, when you are playing soccer, the little soccer academy where the KG people are running around, ting, ting, ting. They're also hitting the football. Then they go into the elementary school, middle school, high school. Now they are playing like tigers. And then there are professionals players. They all get the ambience which is suitable for them for practice, right? Krishna also arranges gradually next level of environment and next level of happiness, Anandam Buddhivardhanam, where Krishna arranges better and better environment for us to go. All that we need in our heart is a tinge of sincerity, a tinge of gratitude for what we have received, willingness to receive completely what Krishna wants to give, and then willingness to give it to others who are lacking it. Only two things will make your progress so fast. Thank you, bro. Kanu bro. Anything else you want to share?
Thank you, Prabhuji. And that's all.
Okay, who's next?
Prabhuji, I do not. I have just one question on the things that we discussed today. So I think this is I think a repeated thing that your progress in the spiritual world does not um, like it does not deteriorate. You just keep accumulating on that. So is there any kind of like how it is still a kind of more of illustration than what is the evidence that yeah we do not lose that?
What is the evidence that we do not lose that? We are a soul, it is in the soul account. And in the soul account, which is eternal, Krishna will make sure that you are going to your next levels, and he says that. Because we are a parampara of Shabda Praman, I'm not sure how to explain you something which is a multi-life situation in this life.
No, I know this is like I'm asking because like yeah, there is a lot of scriptural evidences that we have gone through when Krishna is saying this, but I'm just wondering like if there is another way of looking at it
Oh yeah,
apart
there
from
is.
Sabda Pranam.
There was this UK brahmachari who just became initiated in Prabhupada times and then got into an accident and died. And this brahmachari used to be kind of, silent love in the old Bollywood movies you have seen. He was in love with a girl.
Mm.
He got his next life exactly looking like that girl. Because whatever you are attached to, that is your future life. He was attached to a girl, he became a girl. But he was in Hare Krishna again.
Mm.
And he had last life memories, so he could remember.
Mm.
And then he connected the dots from his previous life and next life. And we could see that his progress continued in ISKCON. And he's alive today. So that's a kind of, if you're looking for a very material evidence of continued life, then that's what it is. That one thing I can think of. Let me see another thing that is like that. Even this Indra Prabhu's example is a very good example that Krishna protected that devotee who decided to fall away. Still, Krishna made sure that he gets credit for what he has done. That is also important. Then some children are born to Hare Krishna parents and they are like solid Hare Krishnas from childhood only. You don't need to tell them a lot. They will drag you to temple. They will learn kirtan very fast. They will learn musical instruments very fast. For them, shloka recitation is a cakewalk. Are they are carrying from last life? That is another evidence that they're carrying. How come some people take it so fast, some people take it so slow? Because what they have done in the past is reflected. No?
Yeah. Yeah, I think this is definitely there where we see some people get the same concept very quickly, and it is connected. So definitely, and I see that once you get to some level of understanding, you can't forget it. It's just there inbuilt in you. You can't just lose it, irrespective of whichever environment you are in.
You know why it is powerful when children are born in Hare Krishna, they're carrying from last life and they're starting from there? Why that is so powerful? Because they did not get time to add garbage of this world into their brain. They got Hare Krishna first. We have gone through self-help and MBA books and 9 different philosophers and 9 different Mahatmas on YouTube telling you something different. Now we have so much to lose before we start earning again. Right? There is a unlearning process. That unlearning process can take lifetimes. So that's why Mam Ekam Sharanam, when Krishna says, surrender unto me, Ma Sucha, I'll take care of your sins. If we take Krishna's deal seriously, we will drop all other philosophies, Sarva Dharmam Parityaja. Krishna says, give up all varieties of religion. So then when Krishna says something in Bhagavad Gita, and if we hold that as a truth, we can progress very fast. Otherwise, हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? Somebody has given up the ropes and ladders to climb up the mountain, but we're not trusting it. So what we are doing? We're shaking it every time. Tight है क्या? Tight है क्या? Tight है क्या? We will still make progress, but it will be slower than somebody who says, I know my team leader, he has put the ropes, he has put the hooks. I'm going to go really fast. High risk, but you'll go faster. Yeah.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah.
Very nice. Thank you, bro. Who's next? Who has not spoken? Survi Mataji.
I can go, Prabhuji. Hare
Hare
Krishna. Yeah, Prabhuji, I had to drop off in between, so I attended half the class, but I think I started with the last two shlokas where we were talking about Krishna, where Krishna is saying that those who want to take my shelter and they know me and know everything about my transcendental activities, they are the true Brahmins, and they are free from the cycle of life, death, old age, and diseases. Right. So, and yeah, Prabhuji, I think that was this chapter Krishna himself is telling, right? I am the God. Before that, we learned about the yoga, but here Krishna is saying that, okay, just come to me, surrender to me, learn about me, and everything, all the illusionary, they work under me. So, yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Sapan Prabhu is in the hearing mode. That's very nice. One brahmachari in Pune was talking about what is the risk in life. And we may think risk in life is accident, risk in life is poverty, risk in life is children going haywire, right? And he explains that we have come this far in human life progression. Ultimately, we took out of 8.4 million species of life, we are in human life. In human life, 7-8 billion people, handful people know how to get out of here. And so now we are almost there. The biggest risk in life is we still don't get liberated. We still don't go back to spiritual world in this lifetime. Then what that's a big risk, because good God knows after that where do you go and how long you take and all that. So this is a chance to take spiritual life so seriously and go back to Godhead. This is it. We should make it like, life में और कोई priority नहीं है. I want to make sure, Krishna, that you don't have a choice but to take me back. So that would be the powerful way to look at our Hare Krishna classes is, am I going to, what if I die today? Will I go back to Krishna? If not, write down those things, the thoughts that will come to your mind at the point of death, which will prevent you from thinking of Krishna. Oh, I have not done my property will, so my thoughts will linger around. How will this property transfer to my family? Okay, bank accounts, are they shared in the family's name properly? Right? Have you thought of everything? If you love someone, have you told them I love you? If there are any bad transactions in the past, have you asked the forgiveness from people you want to ask forgiveness? What is living complete life? Complete life is you have completed those transactions of love and gratitude. And if death comes today, we are free to think of Krishna. If today I'm not free to think of Krishna, if death arrives, I'm not living a complete life. I have not achieved the mission of my life. I am a tremendous failure, even if I am the president of the whole world. I'm a tremendous failure. क्योंकि अगला जन्म तो कुत्ते का भी हो सकता है ना. How that is a success? You may be a PhD today. You have to start ABCD again. You may be healthy today. One may be born crippled in some region where there is not your supply of electricity. कहीं भी कुछ भी हो सकता है. So that is why we should take, अभी अक्ल है, health है, freedom है, सब कुछ है. We should completely make this एक ही झटका जोर का, which is to achieve Krishna Prema. Whatever it takes, we should do a balanced scorecard to say, what am I doing today in spiritual life? Month on month, I will improve it and keep making it better. क्यों? मौका है, चौका मार दो. Okay. So with that, unless there are any comments or questions, we can close the class 10 minutes early today. Any questions, comments? श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. वांछा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय. श्रीला हरिदास ठाकुर की जय. श्रीला प्रभुपाद की जय. हरे कृष्णा.
Hare
Good day.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.